your friend, bleed orange and blue to the bitter end. Come and join us, DNVR. We are DNVR.
Welcome into the DNVR Broncos podcast on this terrific Thursday episode. I'm your host, Zac Stevens, joined by my man on here to break down everything post-training camp, Dre. We are done with training camp.
Wow,
and
congrats.
One thing you can be done with is school. If you check out MSU Denver online, because our friends at MSU Denver online make it so you can live your life and get educated at the same time. They have mastered the art of online learning because they switched to this before anyone else did last year, so they are way ahead of the curve. So make sure to check them out to get, whether you want to learn one class or whether you want to get a degree, you can go do that over at MSU Denver. And the people want to know about MSU Denver. And Dre, speaking of the people, I've got to give a few shout outs before we hop into this show. Met some awesome people at training camp over the past few days, and got to give a huge shout out to Daryl. He goes by D-Rock in our community. Met him yesterday. He's the nicest guy. And Dre, he drove 29 hours to watch Broncos training camp. Where do you think 29 hours gets you?
We're pretty deep on the coast. I'm thinking like Miami.
Okay. Oh, opposite. Go
New York, huh?
Up. Yep. Close. Connecticut.
Oh,
He drove from Connecticut to watch Broncos training camp. And unfortunately, it was yesterday's practice, and yesterday not the sexiest practice. But what I will say, Daryl, is way better than today's practice, which was open to the public because today was supposed to be boring. It was a walkthrough, so it wasn't like we're going to bash the Broncos for that or anything. Another shout out to Rich. He and his wife work from home, so they get to catch every one of our live pods. They throw it up on the TV. So Rich, loved meeting you as well. Thank you for saying hi. And then Dre, we've got some big news to break here.
Oh, wow.
Our friends Pleasure Horse are dropping a new album tomorrow. Yes. August 20th, they're dropping their new album called A Ways Away. And we love everything Pleasure Horse. I mean, they're part of our family, but also their music is phenomenal. The song, the outro song, you guys have been listening to it for months now. That's going to be in their new album. And if the rest of their album is anywhere close to how their final song is in our pod, it is going to be amazing. So make sure to check out Pleasure Horse's new album called A Ways Away tomorrow. And Dre, let's talk Broncos, because training camp practice, it's over. I mean, it's over. Reminds me of a famous line someone said once in the New Orleans streets.
That's right. Yeah, famously quoting the great Vince Carter dunk contest. It's over. Yeah, you're glowing.
Yes, thank you. I
mean,
don't know
you're
if it's the
just
sunburn
so
glow
happy
or
to be done with camp.
Yes, and not much changes really. I actually had a few people ask me, what does change now the training camp's over? And really, not much, except we don't get to report on what happens in practice anymore. So we couldn't report stats from practice, but we could tell you, Drew Lock drove down, scored a touchdown. We can't do any of that anymore starting next week. So those will become irrelevant in terms of like what happened in practice. We also stop getting to watch all of practice. We only get to check in to see who's there. Outside of that, though, for the players, it dies down a little bit. There's certainly not as many padded practices. I think they get 14 padded practices in the next 18 weeks. So they get less than one padded practice a week. So it's much more based on the mental side when you're going through the season because of just how physical Sundays are in the actual games. But other than that, not much changes. The players are still on a grind. They're working 6 out of 7 days a week. But before we even get to the regular season, Dre, we've got a quarterback competition still going on, and I'll tell you what, a lot has changed for me and the way I view this thing in the past 12 hours.
Really?
Yeah, a lot. I was just thinking, if it's close, it's going to Teddy. If it's close, it's going to Teddy. Well, you know what? Our quarterback scoreboard is damn close. Yeah. It's as close as it gets. We've given out 160 total points. Teddy leads by 1 point right now. I mean, that is how close it is. So when people watch the game last week, they say, how is Vic saying this is even Steven? He must be crazy. Not because it's been even Steven. Drew won the game last week.
Right.
There's no question about it. But that brought his deficit closer to being even. That didn't like blow him out of the water.
Right.
But now I'm getting the feeling, and there's some things to back it up, that if Drew wins this game, he'll be named the starting quarterback on Monday morning.
Interesting. Well, tell me. What's got your spidey senses tingling?
The biggest thing was talking to Pat Shurmur. And I'll tell you what, typically talking to Pat Shurmur brings you nothing. No spidey senses, no tingles of any sort, and that's just how he likes it. He doesn't
want to
want
cover your mouth to not yawn.
Yes,
that's usually what Pat Shurmur interviews induce.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Sometimes I forget to cover the mouth,
Yeah,
and then
I
I feel really rude.
Yeah.
But I asked Pat today, I said, what does Drew Lock need to do versus Seattle to show he's taken enough steps to become the starter? And he looked at me and said, play well. And then he almost didn't go on. I mean, he paused for a couple of seconds. I'm like, I don't need you to say anything else, but you just gave me everything I needed. But then he went on and said he just needs to play well and continue on the right path. We've seen the improvement. We've seen a young player get better with an offseason and with a training camp. Boom. To me, that's it. I mean, that's what this competition is riding on. Drew Lock, you play well on Saturday. This is your job. He's taken Teddy out of the equation. If it's Drew's job to win, or it's Drew's job to lose. Now, if Drew Lock comes out and plays poorly, there's two options. Extend this puppy one more week, get one more game under their belts for more observation, another week of practice. Or if Drew Lock doesn't play well and Teddy plays well, because that competition is still so close, then they could easily come out on Monday and say Teddy's the guy. And Dre, I've had this feeling for a long time that if it's close, Teddy Bridgewater is going to get the benefit of the doubt.
Yes, I've been with you all along.
I still think that's the case because I think Vic wants that because it's the safe choice.
100%.
But I think there's one thing that Drew Lock is proving in this game, and that's consistency.
Yeah.
And how big of an issue has consistency been for Drew?
Right. No, it's been massive. I mean, on a play-by-play just mechanically speaking, consistency is just a wild. His footwork might look really nice, and then the next throw he's doing this and that, or arm angles get screwed with and stuff. Yeah,
right. And then on a game-by-game basis,
absolutely.
I mean, we see him come out against Houston in his rookie season and light the world on fire. Yeah. Look incredible. Look like he's the next John Elway.
Right.
And then, a couple weeks later, maybe even the next week, on the road against the Chiefs, I know it was snowy and stuff, but just absolutely looks lost out there. And then, of course, we saw that all of last year as well. Good flashes, not even in a game.
Yeah.
Against the Chargers, he was not good leading into that fourth quarter. In the fourth quarter, again, he looked like John Elway, the comeback king, guy that couldn't be stopped. And so the consistency, I think that's the biggest thing that these coaches are waiting for. And in training camp, the consistency, it hasn't been there for Drew to jump out and say he's better than Teddy Bridgewater, and that consistency is 100% there. But if he puts back-to-back games together, what else is he supposed to do? Those are apparently the biggest tests out there. Yeah. But that's why I think if Drew plays well, it's his on Monday morning. If he doesn't and Teddy plays well, and neither of them, when I say play well, neither of them have to light the world on fire. Just play well. Right. If Teddy plays well and Drew doesn't, I think we're going to see Vic just get way too scared of going with Drew and saying, I need to go with the consistent, safer option.
Right. And I mean, in practice, they've both been similarly inconsistent.
Yep.
Is what I'm getting from.
Yep.
And similarly turnover prone.
Yep,
like
exactly.
They've thrown about the same amount of interceptions.
Yep. And both have hit the deep balls. Both have also struggled. I mean, yesterday was a weird practice. The eye test told me Drew won the day. But then I go back and I look at the notes, and I see Teddy had more touchdowns, more interceptions, more deep passes, significantly more deep passes, but then also more sacks. So I'm thinking, okay, do I want the guy that has the highest highs and the lowest lows just for that practice, or the guy that was, I thought, steady in practice? I thought Drew was steady, but then I went through. he completed less than 50% of his passes,
Yeah.
Dre. That's what Drew did yesterday, and I'm thinking, oh boy. I mean, not an ideal scenario. Choose the guy who completes 40% of his passes, or choose the guy that has, 3 sacks, an interception, but then also, 3 or 4 deep bombs and a touchdown on top
Right.
of that. And
Right.
wouldn't you kind of expect it to be the opposite? You expect Drew to have the highest highs and the
Absolutely.
lowest lows, and Teddy to be steady. So that's just a little microcosm of kind of this camp of what are we looking at?
Right. That's that's so interesting. I'm glad you think this is leaning Drew, because yesterday's comments, if you just looked at what Vic was saying about them getting closer to a decision, you would think Drew.
Yep.
But then the caveat he made of, well, we're starting to have to weigh those practices in Minnesota more heavily, because that's 1 against 1 as opposed to, a little more mix and match 1 versus 2s in preseason.
Mm-hmm.
That really concerned me. Like, oh, is he moving the goalpost? Is this just
It did feel like
a
that.
justification for Teddy? But you know what else I'm thinking about is a common theme from you and Mace this week is the quarterback and wide receivers not totally on the same page.
Yeah. Yep.
And maybe that's why Vic's got a little more urgency to come to a decision.
Yep.
Because he wants his wide receiver and quarterback on the same page, not
Yes.
flipping snaps every 3 attempts.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
they need to be the best offense they can be, and that's with the most reps they can potentially have with the ones all together.
Yep.
All the ones, quarterbacks included.
Yeah, and you're 100% right. We also saw a very weird thing that happened yesterday. I can't imagine it was on purpose, and I was too far away to see, and Mace also wasn't able to put together, but it seemed like there was a fumbled snap between Cushenberry and Locke, and I just didn't want to say it because I wasn't 100% sure, but that's what it seemed like. You also have some more information coming out on what happened between Pat Shurmur and Drew Lock. Today, so yesterday, Drew Lock came out and said it was just a misunderstanding, that he wasn't supposed to be the quarterback for the next play, but he just went into the huddle and Shurmur pulled him, right? Today, Pat Shurmur has another side to the story.
Oh, no.
He says it was a technology error going on in Drew's helmet, and so Pat pulled him because he was having issues with his helmet and then was getting mad about the technology. That's why he was so frustrated on the sideline. Dre, to me, this wasn't a big deal when it happened.
Right.
These things will happen. The cover-up is more entertaining and more of a bigger deal because, I mean, they just don't have their stories straight. But so these are just things, and Drew did admit that he made the wrong read on the play before. And that's probably where the frustration really was between them all, is just that. But that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Not a big deal. But it points to what you were saying. The quarterbacks and the wide receivers have not been on the same page this
No,
week,
it's been
especially
crazy.
Drew looking deep, and that's not something you like to see.
Right.
There's been some center issues, and those kind of extend into last week too. And then also some frustration with the offensive coordinator and the quarterback. These things will get better if you decide on one guy.
Yeah.
And I think it's a fantastic point that you brought up, because we went from even Steven just a couple days ago to we are pretty close to having all the information we need. I think Vic is realizing that, you know what, this thing is just going to be even Steven.
Right.
You know, just as our scoreboard projects right now that it's very close, this thing's going to end really close, unless, Drew Lock goes out
100%.
and throws 4 interceptions and Teddy
Right.
throws 2 touchdowns or vice versa. It's going to be close, and no separation is going to come, no obvious separation. And you know what? If you extended it 1 week into the 3rd preseason game, it probably wouldn't be obvious then either. So that's a fantastic point. So, Dre, I want to talk about, what does a win look like for Drew? And what does a win look like for Teddy? What do these guys have to do to get the job this week? What do you think Drew's numbers or performance looks like going up against the 2s and the 3s and maybe even the 4s?
Well, with Drew, it almost feels like most of what it needs to look like is move the chains.
Yep.
Get into scoring position just about all your drives. Cap one off with a touchdown and stay mistake free.
Yep. Yeah,
Take what the defense gives you.
Yep. You nailed it. We
Yeah.
don't need to see him light the world on fire like he did last week. 153.3 passer rating. If he does that, he's a starting quarterback.
Yes.
100 passer rating. he's also the starting quarterback in my mind. And I was trying to put it into numbers, and this is what I think. I think if Drew goes 8 for 12, that'll be 66% completion. Not lighting the world on fire, but certainly above the 60% mark. Let's say 80 to 100 passing yards. That's not lighting the world on fire. He had 150 last week.
Right.
1 touchdown, no picks.
Yep.
That means not only did he have a touchdown, he led his team into the end zone, just like you're saying, a scoring drive, no interceptions, no big mistakes, and he was accurate. He was accurate enough. You'll take 66% completion for Drew for an entire season.
Right.
And then that's kind of
You betcha
assuming
ass.
he's getting about a quarter and a half to 2 quarters of football.
Yeah.
Let's extend that into a full game just to show what those numbers would be. That would be 16 of 24 for 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Not lighting the world on fire, but Vic Fangio, he is saying he's winning 12 games this year if that's the production he gets. And also, I don't want to say he can't get sacked at all, but maybe limit the sacks to 1. If he's dropping back 12 to 15 times, limit the sacks to 1 because he can't be holding on to the ball that long.
Yeah, just survive the pressure snaps.
Yep.
You know, even if you do get sacked, let's make sure it's not a monumental mistake. He was so good his rookie year avoiding sacks.
Yep.
I mean, historically great at a rate where he was top 3 in Broncos history of limiting sacks, under 3%.
Wow.
Sophomore year, I think the sack numbers, relatively speaking, still pretty low, but way more mistakes under pressure.
Yep.
And I mean, just as like their inability to read the pressure that was coming off the A gap or the right side was like something was off completely in that offense.
Yeah.
You know, that was impacting that even more.
Well, and one thing we've seen Drew in training camp is he's been sacked way more than Teddy Bridgewater outside of yesterday. Yet, I talked about this a couple days ago, Dre, and that is in a game, he's not being sacked last week. And then he came out and said, you know, when they blow the whistle in practice indicating a sack, sometimes you're not always going to get sacked. Right. And that is something that we've seen. He is elusive. He's not Lamar Jackson, but he is actually pretty good at manipulating the pocket.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
One thing he did that I want to see again, Dre, if everything is covered and he starts taking off, don't force it down the field. Just pick up the 6 yards, live another day. A 6-yard run, Broncos will take that from Melvin Gordon, from Javonte, from anyone. They'll take it on a little reverse to KJ Hamler. So they'll certainly take it from their quarterback. So 100%, that's exactly what we need to see. Now, Dre, what are some numbers that Drew has to do to keep Teddy in this?
I mean, it all starts with the picks. It starts with stalling drives, not playing well on third down. You know, all of a sudden the pressure getting to you more. I think that's kind of it, though. If we see, even if he has those positive flashes, but he's turning the ball over, he's not reading pressure well, he's struggling on key downs.
Yep.
That's going to open the door wide open for Teddy.
Yep, I think you're 100% right. And let's say we see that, whether it's multiple sacks or holding the ball on too long or interceptions, what does Teddy have to do for this thing not to go on another week, for Teddy to be named the starter?
Sounds like they both have to really struggle, right?
Yeah. I think Drew would have to struggle. And then if Teddy comes out and does anywhere close to what he did last week, I think they're going to say, Teddy's more consistent, and we trust Teddy more. Even though those numbers don't light the world up, you'll take 87.5% completion percentage any day of the week, even if it's only for 80 yards. You'll take that, and I think that's what they would do. So if one of these guys struggles, and it doesn't have to be to the tune of 2 or 3 interceptions, one pick, and the other guy comes out and has a touchdown with no mistakes, I think this thing's over. And it's crazy that this is all boiling down to one game.
Finally.
But in reality, we've watched, 16 events now happen in terms of practices and games, and we're getting, it's even. It's as even as it can be, so something is going to have to flip this, and why not it be a game? I mean, and so that's why I think we will have a starting quarterback on Monday. I think that's the best thing for the team, regardless of if it's Teddy or Drew, because from everything you said, and then that also mean that one guy came out and played significantly better than the other.
Right.
And that would be great. Now, what's going to be tough for Teddy is if they both have similar games to what they had last week. Then they will have seen the consistency from Drew, and I think they'd go with Drew. But for the Broncos, that wouldn't be bad. It would just be tough for Teddy.
It'd be tough for Teddy. Yeah, but at least he is that veteran. He is the one who's had plenty of experience as a backup in this league before. That's where in a tie, it just makes sense to hand the reins to Drew. Teddy's right there.
Yep.
Nothing changes for Teddy. He's been in this spot. He's steady Teddy. He's going to be just fine.
And you bring up a great point. Yesterday when we talked to Teddy, he sounded like a backup. He sounded like he was talking like a backup. Okay, well, let's hit these super chats. And really quick before we hit them, if you guys are tuning in live, we really appreciate it. Hit us with the thumbs up when you're in there. Subscribe. And if you want to guarantee that your comments get read on this pod, hit us with a super chat. We really appreciate it. And so let's get to this one.
Hey guys, what did y'all get from that Teddy interview? All I got was that he had already accepted the back.
Wow, that's a great one.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly what I'm saying. It kind of felt like it. Now, I don't think Teddy knows that he's the backup. I don't think they've told it and kept it the biggest secret in town. I just think that that's who Teddy is. He knows why he was brought here, to compete with Drew, and then that might end up with him losing the job. But look, like you said, Dre, this isn't the first time. And one of the things he pointed to was a couple of years ago, he was in New Orleans, and he backed up Drew Brees.
Totally.
But then you know what? Drew Brees got hurt. Teddy came in, 9 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 5-0. That is something you could get. That is something that he could do. And then he went and got paid $20 million the next year because of it. So he knows that this isn't the worst case. He's accepted where he is in his career and the type of player he is. And so I think it's great that he will accept that role.
Yeah.
Drew had a little bit of a different mindset. You know, he wasn't like, I won't be a backup, but he was more so, if I'm the starter, I'm going to be ready.
Right.
It wasn't focused on losing the job. So I'm right there with you, DTL. It did feel like Teddy hasn't accepted the backup role, but he knows that that's very much a possibility right now.
Yeah.
And let's hit another super chat.
Yep. What do you think the chances are of either quarterback being the assuming starter through the whole season? I feel like no matter who starts week 1, they're getting...
Oh, no.
Wow. Steve.
Oh, Steve.
Steve, you're killing us.
You know, and I'm touching wood, but I wish Steve honestly would have said one of them is going to get hurt. And then I would agree with him.
Yeah.
You know, one of them's going to get hurt and the other one's going to come in. But, neither
has a great record of staying healthy for a full 16 games.
And that's why I think Steve is
17.
right, is we're going to see both of these guys. Yeah. Now, let me flip it, though, and say, what are the odds of one of these guys or both of these guys getting benched? Not because of injury.
I mean, given who they are and how this competition's been, probably fairly high. I'd go no lower than 38%.
No lower than 30. At 38's you're the math dude, and I like that number. Yeah. And unfortunately, I like what you're saying. And look, if Drew starts the season, he's got to play well because Vic is going to be so quick to flip it to Teddy. I mean, I think that the seat is going to be hotter for Teddy or for Drew than it would be for Vic because let's say they start off 0-2. Coming home against the Jets in a game where this is Vic Fangio's last chance to win in September, I really think that they may make the switch there. If they're 0-2 with Teddy, I think they stick with him for a couple more weeks until this season is absolutely just completely gone. And then George Payton says, let's find out what we have in Drew. And maybe Vic's the coach then, maybe he's not, if it's that off the rails.
Right. Well, yes. And who knows what other things could happen with ownership to accelerate some of those moves one way or another. Zach, if they were both given truth serum, do you think Vic and Pat Shurmur would pick the same starting quarterback? Or do you think there might be a house divided between Pat and Vic?
I thought they were both on the same page.
Uh-huh.
Not after
Today,
today.
yeah,
Not
yeah.
after today.
I'm getting those vibes today.
I think Pat is leaning Drew.
Yeah.
And I still think if it's close, Vic is going to lean Teddy.
100%.
And what's so interesting is Vic is the one making this call, but Pat's the one like doing all the dirty work here and working with Drew and watching everything.
Right.
Vic's, off with the defense for a decent amount.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like your story about I'm doing all the edits.
Right,
I'm doing all the
right.
stat graphics. I calculated
Yep.
all the stats,
Yep, and I get the credit for it.
Right.
I just better hope your stats are right.
Oh man, what a tricky situation.
It is really tricky, but something that's not tricky, Dre, is joining our fam over at DNVR,
yes.
where we've got an awesome deal going on right now. If you hold your fantasy draft at the bar, you
Insane.
get 2 free pitchers of Breckenridge, or you get 2 free pitchers, 1 pitcher of
Yeah.
your choice of Breckenridge Brew,
Yep.
another pitcher of a draft beer that we have on tap here. So this is the best place to hold a fantasy draft. It's Sports
incredible.
Central in Denver. Good
Yeah.
Wi-Fi as well. And
Yes,
so if
yes.
you bring 10 of your friends, 10 people that are in your fantasy draft, you get 2 free pitchers of beer when you hold your fantasy draft here. So here's how you get it set up. Email gm@thednvrbar.com to get that in. And that's just one of the perks, Dre, that you get by becoming a member with us. You get to support us, which we really appreciate. You get to read all of our content, including that quarterback scoreboard. You get a member beer, which is a 22-ounce beer for the price of a 16-ounce beer when you're at the bar. You get to be in all of our chats. You get all of your comments read in our pod, everything. So make sure to join our family now and take care of your fantasy draft at the DNVR bar.
What a deal. Really, really phenomenal deal. Yeah, and lots of great golf stuff as well. Check all that out and become a member. Join the fam. Come on. You'll see some of the perks in the second part of the show as we answer listener questions.
Yes.
Also, quite the perk, another family of ours, part of the extended family, the good folks at Ball. Yes, that is as in Ball Arena, where Nugs and Avs play. They are just a phenomenal company, and they are looking to hire you, my friend, my fellow listener. With all the smoke and stuff, there's been a lot of environmental anxiety, and Ball is one of those great companies that is using reusable materials, and they're doing everything in a very sustainable manner, which is so huge. So it's one thing to be a member of the community and hire other members. It's another to be putting things in place that are going to allow our community to succeed for the long term. Check them out. They have been just an outstanding partner, and we couldn't be happier to have them on board with us. Go get yourself a job there. Check their factory out in Golden. Check out jobs.ball.com for all that great stuff, or text Golden to 77222.
Dre, when we really, really like something, you know what we do? We put it in the bar. We really like Breckenridge Brewery. We put it in the bar.
That's
we
right.
really like DNVR. We put it in the bar. And we really like Hassel Cattle Company. So
In the
we put it
bar.
in the bar. That's
Yes.
right. You can get the Hassel Cattle Company burger here at the bar. And boy, do we have a delicious new menu that features so many different Hassel
it's
Cattle
off
Company.
the
You can
chains.
get it all here. And you can also get it delivered straight to your home.
Yeah.
If you love it so much, you want it sent to your home. And they call themselves the Blue Collar Wagyu because it's affordable, incredible meat. And not only
Otherworldly. Yeah.
not only is it just not only is it can you get it for burgers, you can get beef jerky, you can get so many other things. You can get Frank's all
their
Wagyu as
sausages
well.
are
Oh
insane.
my gosh,
Oh
they
my
are incredible.
Yeah.
And you can get that all over at HasselCattleCompany.com. That's HASSELL cattlecompany.com, and use the code DNVR10 to
Yes,
get
sir.
10% off your entire order. And at every order over $200, you get free shipping, and you can get a lot for $200 over at Hassel Cattle Company.
that's
So
true.
make sure to check them out, or grab a burger when you're here at the bar. All right, so let's get into some questions. But first, Dre, what I want to do is just get everyone caught up on what's going on in Broncos country and what you can expect for this game. So Teddy is starting. We confirmed that. Drew will be coming in. The defensive starters, most of them are going to play. Bradley Chubb, Von Miller, still unsure if they're going to play. Patrick Surtain was back at practice today, so a big relief.
That's huge.
Vic right now thinks he's going to play, but they're not going to rush it.
Why?
Very smart. In fact, I've seen enough from him. He doesn't need to play. But if he's healthy
100%.
enough, I guess he can play. I would probably take the Sean McVay route with most of my guys, but this is going to be the game where the starters play.
Yes, yeah, it's that penultimate preseason game.
Yep.
We used to get like 3/4 out of the starters, you know?
Yeah. And combined, I think we may get that on the offensive side of the ball because the defensive guys are going to play 12 to 15 plays, Vic said, which is quarter and a half, just depending on how it goes.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be less than a quarter.
That's very like second preseason game.
Right. Yes, exactly. And that's why it's the defense. He trusts them. He doesn't need to see them.
Well, yeah, like sit those guys.
Yeah, seriously.
I don't even need to see
No.
them. Yeah.
Vaughn, it doesn't sound like he's going to play. He doesn't want his first game back to be on turf, and that's
I
what
was
Seattle
reading
has.
that.
So don't expect him, but expect Bradley Chubb potentially. And then on the offensive side, Vic said the offensive guys are going to play more than the defensive guys. So a half to 3/4, just depending on how well the offense does, how many reps Drew and Teddy get. I would expect to see Drew get some reps with the ones, though. You're going to see Garrett Bowles play this week. I expect the entire offensive line to play. Something to keep your eye on. When does Netani Muti fill in for either Dalton Reisner or Graham Glasgow? See if he plays more than those guys with the first team. They
can't get enough Muti reps.
My gosh. I think it was yesterday I asked Vic if Glasgow and Reisner are still the starting guards because of how much they've been playing Muti in. And he said, those are the starters. In my head, I'm thinking he's thinking for now. Those are the starters for now, which is the ultimate death thing to say for a player is for now.
Or a veteran with a bigger contract, Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, you never want the guy with the teensy-weensy contract outplaying you.
No, you certainly...
That decision's way too easy.
Yeah. No, you certainly don't. So that's kind of what to expect this week. Melvin Gordon may play, may not play. I expect another big day from Javonte Williams. They're going to try to rely on the run game again to set play action up for both Teddy and Drew.
Yeah, and Gordon's been back practicing. He's looking okay.
Yep, he's looking okay today. He was riding the bike a little bit throughout practice. So I don't think he's 100%. To me, he's a vet. He doesn't need training or preseason. I wouldn't rush him.
I wouldn't either.
No.
I'll be very excited to watch Royce Freeman again in the second preseason.
I don't know if that is your humor.
No.
Wow.
Legitimately, yeah. I know, right.
Big voice guy. I love that.
Yeah, because as Zach knows, I was skeptical of him coming out of Oregon, but I thought that was
You've been right.
a top. Yeah, hey, I've been wrong plenty, but yeah, unfortunately on Royce, I've been right. But I thought that showing in the first preseason was probably a top 2 or 3 performance from Royce as a Bronco.
Yeah, I agree. And he has looked better. He certainly doesn't have the explosion that these other running backs have, but he's looked good in training camp for as good as a running back can look.
Well, and I mean, the Boone injury just opened his world up.
Yep.
I mean, I think all of a sudden he's kind of a favorite to make this roster.
Yep. I completely agree with you. And let's hop into some comments.
Yeah,
How
let's do
about
it.
that? Let's
do
get
it.
to some live comments first, and then we'll jump into the comment section as well. So, guys, if you're tuning in live, again, please hit us with a thumbs up, and then also drop your comments in here, and we'll try to get to them.
Are there any competitions still going on right now besides quarterback?
Yes, great question.
Yep.
Right tackle is still going on. Vic Fangio loves Calvin Anderson. And what's not to like about him? He's a great guy. He's really smart, down-to-earth type of guy. And, of course, we all know the quiet emoji that he uses all the time. But that's very much still a competition. Those two guys are both going to play with the first unit. They'll be rotating in and out. Vic says it's still going on. I think it's pretty clear it's going to be Bobby Massey as the starting right tackle with Calvin Anderson as the locked-in swing tackle.
Yep.
He is certainly head and heels above Cameron Fleming right now, but that is still going on right now.
I would have thought if it was more of a competition that maybe Calvin gets a few more reps on the right side in the first preseason. I mean, he was subbing Garrett, and I thought he did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
But I guess that tells you how much they think of him as a backup, but how he's maybe just a smidge behind the veteran in that competition.
You hit it on the head. You hit it on the head. All right, let's get to another one here.
Shouldn't OC have more power in the decision making
Ooh, no. And you know the buck stops with Vic. You know his job is on the line, and Pat Shurmur's is as well. But I think what should happen is Vic should probably rely on his offensive coordinator a lot when making this decision. But it would be weird if George Payton was like, "Yeah, we're gonna let Pat Shurmur make the decision."
Yeah,
like
right.
if he
You can't do
jumped him. What wouldn't be weird is if George Payton said, I'm going to make the decision.
Yep.
That wouldn't be weird for a GM. And then he can talk to both Vic and Pat Shurmur and make the decision. But now that it's been put out there that it's Vic, that it does make more sense than the offensive coordinator making
Right.
it, even though Vic's the defensive guy.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a hierarchy at play that needs to be respected.
Right.
Peyton is especially aware of that as being a new GM and managing a head coach that he didn't hire, but I think has at least a decent amount of mutual respect with the crossover between Minnesota and the Bears. And I mean, Vic's been around the league forever. The other thing, though, is you have a very veteran offensive coaching staff.
Yep.
Munchak, Shurmur, Shula.
Yep.
Those are great resources for you to have at hand.
Right.
So even if it's your call, utilize those resources. Don't let that be a deterrent. Don't clash heads. Utilize those resources.
And you know what? You'll also lose the coaching staff if
great
everyone
point.
is
Great
telling
point.
you, Drew, and all the players are getting the sense of
Right,
Drew,
right.
and then Vic goes out there and picks Teddy. That's how you lose a team. I think
point.
we're at the point too where if Vic goes with Teddy and they both play well this week or they both play bad, like they both look the same, I think he's going to lose the fans, and fans are going to be pretty upset. Now, his job isn't to win over fans.
No,
his
it is
job
not.
is to win football games,
Yeah.
and if he wins football games, regardless of the quarterback, he'll win over the fans, even if he upsets them by this decision at first.
Right.
All right, let's get to another one.
Would you move on from Brett Rippon to have room for another positional player?
How important is that third quarterback spot, Dre? You're a math guy.
I like Brett. I like Brett a lot.
Sounds like there's a butt coming.
Well, I just fear that he's maybe just at that level where it's like, yeah, there are about 20 guys about Brett Rippon's level floating the league,
Yeah.
fringe practice squad guys who, if your QB went down, then, you know, they're a quick phone call away.
Yeah.
But it's not by, oh, we're losing Rippon, so how will we ever replace him? It's like, no, there's a pretty thick list of guys who are very reasonable replacements.
You're right. And
He's really well liked. Does that within the organization? Does that change things at all?
you know,
They've
and
invested 3 years of development, too.
yeah, and a lot of people have talked about the relationship between Drew and Brett Rippon.
Yes.
If Drew needs Brett Rippon, I'm sorry, he's not the guy.
Yeah,
you know, maybe
you're
he'll
not
win the
wrong.
quarterback competition
You're
this
not
Saturday,
wrong. Yeah.
but he's not going to be your long-term guy if he needs Brett Rippon there. He's well liked in the building, but here's what you do. You cut him and you bring him back. And you pay him more than any other team would pay him to be on your practice squad. Instead of $120,000, give him $250,000, but that's still half the price of him on your team, and it opens up another roster spot. But Dre, if you're relying
All your
on
time with Ted Telesco. It's as easy as this. Let me call my cap guy up. I can show you how to do that. Wow. Okay, I see you, Zach.
Tom
I see
taught
you.
me that trick.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
Of course.
Mr. Telesco.
Yeah, Mr. Telesco.
If you are relying on Brett Rippon at any point this season, the season's toast.
Bad news, Bears, man.
Yeah, and I'm sorry. I mean, he has 1,000 winning percent in the NFL.
Yeah, no. I mean,
hasn't
we all
lost a game.
love Brett
but
here.
yeah, you're bringing him in, and if he does get poached off your practice squad,
You can live
there's
with
someone else. Yeah.
This sort of follows up what you just said, Zach. If Locke wins the job, what kind of season does he need to fend off an Aaron Rodgers?
Oh, that's a great question.
Now graduate level. You beat out Teddy. Now keep Rodgers at bay.
So you beat out Teddy. That's like step one.
Yeah.
Step two
Yeah, level
is
one,
beating
yep.
out a first-round quarterback probably, and then step
Yep.
three is beating out Aaron Rodgers. So what does he have to do to fend off the Broncos going first-round quarterback next year?
You need to make the postseason, right? You need to have a winning record at least. Probably 4,000 yards and close to a 2-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio.
Yeah, I think the big thing for me is 2-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio.
You essentially need him to put up about Derek Carr numbers.
Right, yeah. And that'll get you to the playoffs. It'll also be the first time that the Broncos have had 2-to-1 touchdown interception ratio since, I believe, 2014, which is mind-blowing to think about. Like in today's NFL.
Get out. No.
Yeah. Isn't that insane?
Whoa, we have watched a lot of bad football, my friend.
Yeah, I think the best
half
quarterback.
a decade's worth. Yikes.
Yeah, I think the best quarterback play they've had in terms of touchdown to interception was Trevor his first year, and I think he had like 18 and 13 or 18 and 12.
I'm about to feel sick.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So, I mean, we're talking about 2-to-1 being like, wow, the Broncos have their guy, at least for now. You're probably not signing Drew to a $200 million contract
Right,
with
then
2-to-1.
that becomes the dilemma. But,
Right.
which is truly the Derek Carr dilemma.
The big time Derek Carr dilemma. But that would be the best season they've had in so long. So,
Right.
what
And he's
does he
young
have?
enough that that's probably
Yep.
enough to fend off Rodgers.
So, what does he have to do to fend off Aaron Rodgers coming here? Because Aaron Rodgers, it has been made clear that the Packers are not going to cut Aaron Rodgers next year. If he's released from them, it would be after 2022 when he's 39 years old. So it would have to be via a trade next year. So you have to imagine you're giving up a decent amount to get him.
Yeah, maybe you'd even flip lock and
Right.
try to gain some extra assets that way.
Does 2-to-1 and 4,000 yards fend off Aaron Rodgers too?
It's at least a conversation
It is.
because you have to involve, trade compensation to the Packers, and you wonder, well, are we just better off to keep Drew and see how he develops?
Right, exactly. And I think that the D word is big there,
Yeah,
development,
yeah,
because
exactly,
Drew obviously has a longer timeline than Aaron would have.
Well, it'd be 15 years younger.
Yep.
That
Yep.
in professional sports, 15 years. Yikes,
That's
man.
huge.
That's 3 careers for most. That's like 3 C.J. Anderson careers.
Right.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it is. It really is. That 3-to-1 would fend off Aaron Rodgers because you wouldn't be saying that Drew's a better quarterback than Aaron Rodgers, but you would be saying Drew with the guys that we would have to give up plus 15 more years of Drew is more valuable than Aaron Rodgers. I think 2-to-1, it's a very interesting conversation. So great question there.
Yeah,
Kale,
100%.
let's get to a couple more of these live ones really quick.
All right. On the dark side of that, so if Vic makes Teddy the starter and it's just because it's close and Teddy struggles, how long till Vic is fired because he made that choice?
So that means the team is struggling too. I think that's what it would have to mean.
It
if the
essentially
team
means
struggles.
and he's sticking to Teddy too long.
Right. Sticking with Teddy. He doesn't make it out of October.
Yeah.
I don't think George Payton would pull the plug on him just based on a winless September. But what would that be? They'd have about 7 games in there. So if they're 1-6, he's not lasting. I think if they're
For sure, man.
if they're close, bad but close, like they're 3-4, I think George Payton is going to give the benefit of the doubt to Vic for the rest of the season, let him ride through. Look, George Payton hasn't done anything drastic as general manager now. He has not made a big trade. He has not made any big signings. I mean, $10 million to cornerbacks, Dre, that's nothing. That's not a big signing. He didn't draft a quarterback. He got a cornerback, and he called it the safe pick. So he hasn't done anything drastic unless Vic really gives him a reason to do something drastic. I think he's going to stick with him this year.
Yeah, it's very much a wait and see. He doesn't want to make any huge waves or splashes in his first year.
Yep. And he knows his job is fine. Broncos go 0-16, 0-17.
Right.
He's still the GM next year.
1-5 if every game's lost by a possession. You think he clings on?
What happens that 7th game?
Yeah, I know. Probably like a Thursday night they blow out some crappy team
Right.
with Rippin starting.
Oh, man. Seriously.
I've seen it all before.
Yep.
Oh, God.
And Dre, before we go any further, great questions. I love the conversation it's driving.
Stimulating.
But I got to tell you guys about our friends over at Solace Meds. Just a couple of blocks away from where we are right here at the DNVR bar. Solace Meds has a location on East Colfax. They've also got 3 other locations, one in Wheat Ridge, one in Fort Collins for all of our Rammies, and one off Broadway. And if you go to the Wheat Ridge location, you'll get a free Solace bar or King Cone when you use the code DNVR20. But not only that deal are they offering. They're offering so much more in this month. You can get Dixie Elixirs 2 for $30. You can get Spectre 20% off, Ripple 25% off, Silver Shelf Flower 15% off, and Connoisseur Shelf Concentrates 15% off at any of their locations and online. And here's another deal to throw on top of those deals. Use the code DNVR20. You'll get 20% on top of those deals.
Wow.
In store and online. So make sure to check them out over at solacemeds.com. That's SOLACE meds.com. Smash that code DNVR20.
Beautiful. And we've got kind of a unique opportunity. You can go to Red Rocks and check out our guy, Bert Kreischer, hilarious comedian. Producer Kale was a big fan. I've actually checked
Big
out
fan.
more of his stuff. He's hilarious. September 8th at Red Rocks. Anything you do at Red Rocks is life-changing,
Yes.
awe-inspiring.
Yes.
I've never done stand-up, though.
No,
I've done concerts. I've done amphitheater stuff.
Yep. Film on the rocks.
Yeah.
Yep.
But no stand-up. So I'm extremely excited for this. All you need to do is download that Red Rocks app before you visit. And, check it out. It's a great app. Get your tickets that way. Brett Kreischer is an American stand-up comedian, actor, writer, host. He's just amazing. It's going to be an incredible time because, again, he's a favorite of ours, and he's at, without question, one of the top venues worldwide.
Just the top venue. Yeah.
Absolutely can't go wrong with that. So download that Red Rocks app today. Grab your tickets and see Bert. Did I call him Brett? God damn it. With Mark Norman on September 8th at the best venue in the world. Even my read says that. That's Bert Kreischer and Mark Norman. We're throwing Mark in there as well at Red Rocks September 8th. All ages are welcome. What a deal.
What a deal. I mean, you're also throwing N's in his name, too. You're calling him Brett Kreischer.
I am so bad with names.
You know the reason I've been able to remember Bert is his name is because that's just like a comedian's name, isn't it?
Yeah,
like
you're
Bert
right.
the comedian just
It
sounds
really is.
so much like it.
Really
And
is.
Dre, after Bert, you're gonna wake up the next morning and you're gonna be tired because it's gonna be a great night.
Know it. Yep.
And you're gonna need some
Yep.
Strava Craft coffee to pick you up and to
All
help
day, every day.
from all the
Yes,
laughing that
yes.
you had the night before. And Strava Craft coffee can do that. It gives you that caffeine boost that you need and also helps relieve aches, pains, headaches, migraines, maybe even like the belly laughs. It helps relieve those pains as well.
wow,
and some people
wow.
even say the CBD infusement in Strava Craft coffee helps relieve the coffee jitters and gets rid of those. So you can have as much coffee as you
Unbeatable.
want and keep powering through the day. Make sure to use the code DNVR25 when you sign up to get 25% off your first order of Strava Craft coffee. And then after that, subscribe and you can have it sent straight to your door at 20% off with subscribing. And you can have it sent there every 2, 4, 6, 8, or however often you want. They'll send it to you every 2, 4, 6, or 8 weeks as well. So make sure to use that code DNVR25 at checkout to get the delicious smooth Strava Craft coffee. All right, Dre, let's hit some more questions. And
Yeah,
these
let's do it.
ones are going to be coming in from our listeners. And how you become a listener? Well, go to thednvr.com, become a member, and then leave your comments on the most recent pod that we've posted
Damn
on the
straight.
website. And let's get to those right now because I think you guys are liking this comment section going live. So we're
Yeah.
going to do that today. A little bonus, show you
Awesome.
what the rest of the pod is all about. Next one coming in from Am I Right or Amarillo? He says, how in the world is Teddy Bridgewater still winning on the quarterback scoreboard? It's becoming clearer by the day that you guys are simply a bunch of Drew Lock haters. He's the next John Elway. Shoot, Elway couldn't hold his cleats. It's painfully clear that I'm just trolling y'all at this point. I know I was getting scared that Am I Right or Amarillo's coming after us, but he says, I'm just kidding. I haven't commented in a while, and I thought I'd let you guys know I'm still listening and really enjoying the in-depth coverage you're providing via the pod and the quarterback scoreboard. Y'all do a great job, and I appreciate being able to keep up with training camp despite being here in Cowboy Land. Y'all truly do your part to make sure Broncos Country is nationwide. Thanks, boys. Really appreciate that, Am I Right or Amarillo.
Yeah, in fact, I loved seeing him in the comments comments. He's such an OG. Even I remember, am I right, Amarillo? Great to hear from him again. What a nice way to start the comments.
Yes, what a great way to start. And also, Dre, if Drew wins in the game, he's going to lead our quarterback scoreboard. And then we're going to end on top.
Right, because as of now, QB scoreboard stalled. No more updates till the second preseason game.
Yep.
And that will be, not to be dramatic, but literally the final nail.
Yep.
In the quarterback scoreboard.
Yep, it will. It will. And that just shows you how right the quarterback scoreboard has been so far. You know, it's 50-50 until one of these guys takes off.
Could you just score them without writing anything about the practice for the next week?
Yes.
The silent score.
I love that.
I want a blank post, super long, just the score
Just
at
the
the
score
bottom.
at the bottom. Yep, I'd love it. I'll take that piece every day.
If you'll allow it, Broncos PR, we got it coming.
Next one coming in from our guy, The Count. He says, apparently Fangio saw enough separation in a practice that Zach scored 5-5. His logic is as quizzical as it gets. I'll never understand, Vic, it appears. Love The Count.
Yeah, physical logic, and maybe a little dissension with our guy Pat Shurmur. Who knows? Yeah, we've explored many of those topics today.
I think so. Next one from Broncos Girl 723. What's up, fam? Been a bit since I've checked in on the pod. Hope all is well. Love the coverage as always. So I've been thinking about something since the intro to the pod has changed. I think it has a King of the Hill vibes to it, which in turn I have already created. King of DNVR's Hill. Cast is as follows: Hank to be played by RK, Boonhauer played by Hank. Give the kid a few shots of tequila and he just talks like him. Dale has to be played by Zach, and the much smarter version of Billy by Mace. Instead of crabby Cowboys, it would of course be our beloved Broncos. Breckenridge brews in hand in replacement of the Alamo beer. I so vote on this to become a thing. See y'all at the bar. Go Broncos.
I'd say there's an 80% chance you've never seen King of the Hill.
You could have said 100% chance. Yes.
Yeah, I did go conservative on that. Yeah.
So that means nothing to me. Did she nail it?
Yeah, I think so. Good job, Bronco girl. Spot on. The Billy fit might be the hardest, but yeah. No,
where are you playing into this?
Good stuff. I don't know. Maybe I'm Hank's wife. Maybe
okay. I love it. I love it. Very 2021 progressive. I like it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's, I kind of am. Like, I'm a little more of a side character, but I come
You're
in.
not a side character.
I'm a bit more responsible, maybe, in some ways.
I can see that, definitely.
I'll rein RK in from time to time, I do that with Hank most of all, who, again, it
he
fits
needs that.
the roles you outlined. So there you go, yeah.
Next one from Melbourne Bronco. Hi, guys. I think with our 2 first games being away from Denver, it makes it easier for Vic to choose Teddy. Imagine playing the season opener at home and the crowd not being behind Teddy. Chanting Drew would be a bad look. Choosing Teddy and hopefully returning to Denver 2-0 might get everyone behind the quarterback. Could work the other way too, but I don't think Teddy fans are as biased. They just want success and would cheer Drew on. If he wins, cheers. What do you think?
Yeah, now it's analyzing the psychosis of the Teddy fan and the Drew
Yep,
fan.
we're getting deep.
That's frankly, I think he's spot on.
Yeah.
But Vic, damn it all, it might be true what Melbourne Broncos says. Ignore every part of it. Just listen to Pat and your veteran offensive staff.
Vic don't care. Yeah, Vic don't care
F,
what you or I or anyone at the grocery store or gas station think.
That's true.
He does not care.
Think people holler at him when they see him at the store? I can't imagine he has a chauffeur.
No,
like someone who goes out and gets him stuff.
No. He is not John Elway.
Yeah.
He does not have. He's not the Mike Shanahan type of profile, and I think that's how Vic likes it.
Yeah.
I don't think he wants to be mobbed by people.
Yeah, for sure.
He's just a football guy. That's what got him here.
Good for him.
Next one coming in from Mrs. Quill. Keep up the awesome work, fellas. If each NFL team had to use their nicknames as a 12th man on the field, for example, Lions would have a lion, Bucks would have a pirate, who would win the most games? Wow. Great question. Some people call me the Space Cowboy, chime in and say the Giants.
That's a huge advantage. Though the Titans, right, he then says, or Titans, depending on what type of Titans Tennessee are referring to. Maybe Jets, because you can't tackle a jet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great point. The Broncos it'd be a great speed impact to have a Bronco on the field.
Yeah, until they're eaten by a lion.
By a lion
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
run over by a jet. Yeah.
So
Mauled by a bear. Yeah.
And so this is a 12th man, so you're adding just one of these to the field. I mean, Chargers, if you're literally lightning bolting
Right. Or
your
you're
opponent.
zapping. Yeah. Yeah, I think you've got a point there.
Raiders.
It's as Drew says, people be animals, animals be concepts. All the concepts are out. Like 49ers, you're gone.
Oh,
Browns,
absolutely. Done.
like
Oh, yeah.
you are useless.
I think you are poop.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly right. Steelers, sorry, you're just not going to go far.
no.
Your hard work
Yeah, you're right.
ethic and
It's
the
easy to
steel
eliminate
minds.
those things.
But it comes down to some animals and
Yeah.
some more hardcore
So-
Jets, Titans, or Giants. So
Yeah.
I really think some people call me the Space Cowboy has been able to outline the most. Chargers are the big caveat in
Yeah,
here, though.
yeah. I'm going Chargers because you
Chargers
can
are a
just
big
you
one.
can kill your opponent.
It's true.
Yeah.
If we stuck to merely natural animals, I'd be bullish on the Jaguars, though. I'll tell you that right now.
Oh, over the Lions.
Oh, Jaguars a complete animal. Yes,
Oh,
yes.
you get the
They,
speed.
Speed. They're not afraid of water. You didn't know that one, did you?
I
Yeah.
didn't, no.
They're better climbers. I think there's less discrepancy between a male and female jaguar as there will between male and female lions. So
Boy, you know your stuff.
my daughter is a big animal fan, and she really likes big cats. So
I'm not
yeah.
going to disagree
Yeah.
with your daughter.
Yeah, I read up on that stuff. Yeah, I'm researched.
Free Philip Lindsay chimes in. Haven't finished the pod. His life has been crazy, but when I saw on Twitter that Fangio almost has enough info to name a starter, I had to race
Let's
over here.
go.
Love it. A couple of practices ago, Fangio said it was even Steven. What changed so significantly in the past couple practices? Or was Fangio just lying? Even though I know some, like Mace and probably myself, questioned how well he could lie and thought his even Steven talk was sincere.
Mm-hmm.
I think Dre.
It was weird.
It was weird, and I just don't think he phrased it well. But when he says more information coming, I think he's saying it's still even Steven, but I need to make a decision soon. And I need one more game, then I'll have enough information to make the decision because I can't take this any longer.
Well, and I just thought he handled that post-game comment so... And look, I mean, in the greater scheme of things, it doesn't matter at all. But for this rampant fan base and us doing a daily podcast and having to analyze this stuff, you would much rather him say, both quarterbacks played well. We're going to go back to the tape to make an evaluation. This was certainly an important step, but there are more steps and more information to be gathered, you know.
You're certainly
Instead
right.
of saying, like, it's even Steven, which it's not, but there's no point in even giving an assessment
Yep.
when you're the defensive play caller on a quarterback. Like, you're
Yep.
going to have to go back to the tape anyways, Vic, so just tell people that.
He literally should have done more coach speak and
Yeah,
just said exactly what you said.
precisely.
Oh, I need to go watch the film, see exactly how it broke down. They both played really well.
Right.
I'll tell you that, but I need to go and just see everything more.
Yeah.
I'm shocked he didn't do that.
I know. It's so easy.
Yeah, it really is. I wouldn't be surprised if he does that after this game. Says,
So-
I'm going to go back, look at the film, and then Monday morning then name a starter.
So that's really where the discrepancy is, because I almost feel like in that quote, Vic's saying, like, oh, they're still even Steven, but I got to go back to the tape to, like, track how much separation was actually garnered.
Right, yep, yeah.
He's like the one guy in all of Denver who's a day behind on the QB. evals, you know?
Right, it's so true.
So dumb.
It's so true.
Yeah.
And I mean, early in training camp, he would say that. He would say, oh, I have to go look at the film to see. And what are we
completely
supposed
a
to say?
reasonable
I
answer.
was going to say, he's not lying to us.
No.
That's true. Oh, man. He goes on and says, also, I know after the game, RK said he felt Drew had separated enough where he could have seized the job, but Teddy can't by the Seahawks game. But at that time, they were tied on the quarterback scoreboard, or Teddy was actually leading a bit, which would seem to indicate either, or Teddy could separate and get the job. Based on that, RK must feel like the scoreboard isn't very accurate or doesn't track what's being seen. What do you guys think? Do you think the quarterback competition scale metric might not be as accurate as years past, since it's not really tracking with what Vic's saying that he's close to a decision? One guy probably should have started separating on the scoreboard by now, right? I think it's a good question, but it's something we talked about in the first segment, Dre, is I think Vic realized this week, I'm not going to see separation.
Exactly.
And just because there's a competition happening doesn't mean you're going to see or separation. You're not. That's not given. Both quarterbacks are very similar up until this point. And I think what Vic realized was it's better for my team to hope I get the right quarterback on Monday morning as opposed to dragging this thing out 1 or 2 more weeks, because you play the third preseason game, then you have 2 more weeks of practice. He could draw this out 3 more weeks straight before the season opener. And so I think he's realizing I'm going to be fine with either of these guys. Let me hope I make the right decision, but make it quick.
Yeah, I mean, he's realizing a hierarchy isn't just going to fall into place. I'm going to have to establish that hierarchy. And I think he's just kind of come to that realization.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep, I totally agree. And for you, Philip Lindsay, I think it's a great question. I do think that the quarterback scoreboard is right on. I think it is even Steven, as Vic said. And that's why I don't think Vic's assessment of it being even Steven is far off. It's unfortunate that it's unfortunate for Vic's perspective that Drew balls out and then he comes out and says even Steven, when that's the majority. I mean, most people have only seen that performance, and Drew was great. Next one from Some People Call Me the Space Cowboy. Who gets pulled for a slow 1-3 start first, Drew or Vic? Well, we talked about, or no, Drew or Vic, not Drew or Teddy.
Yeah.
Drew.
Definitely.
I think Peyton has a longer leash with Vic than Vic is going to have with Drew.
Yep, correct. That's a great way to put it.
He says, similar question. Is the leash about even whether Teddy or Drew earns the starting job? And we talked about this in the first segment. I believe Teddy has a longer leash.
Yeah, given the circumstances, I agree with you. I don't think by much, though.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Next one from Wildcard. He says, hey, fellas, so I don't have a football-related question for you today, but more so a food-related question. Bring it on. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Pueblo staple, the slopper, but if you are, would you ever consider making it an item at the bar? If you aren't familiar with the slopper, it's a cheeseburger and fries smothered in Pueblo green chili. Blows Hatch chili away from New Mexico and Colorado out of the water. When I was able to go to the bar for the Nuggets vs. Suns game, and in the first series, I was able to enjoy the delicious food at the bar and got to meet RK and check out the studio. In a drunken state, I had a conversation with RK about Aaron Rodgers, and I'm a little embarrassed now looking back at it because I'm sure I could have made a better impression, LOL. To be fair, though, it was a tough game to watch sober. Anyway, the bar's food was truly phenomenal, and the only thing I could wish for would be an addition of the slopper. Pueblo isn't too far and definitely has the world's best chili. If you ever need a recipe for some Pueblo chili, I can give you the hookup. Sorry for the long comment as of late. Thanks for the great content, fellas. Ya boy, Wildcard.
Wildcard, man.
Slopper, but we do officially have a
What a
green
legend.
chili, cheeseburger on the...
Ooh, green chili cheeseburger.
It hits hard, Wildcard.
I mean,
it hits hard.
And you get the hassle with it, too.
I think Ryan might have... No, that was our club. Okay, I retract my statement. That was the club sandwich. Never mind.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds great. And you got to try out our new menu. We just dropped it 8 days ago. Yeah.
Yeah, and Wildcard, live life with no regrets, okay? I'm sure RK couldn't have cared less about your drunken soup.
I guarantee you, yeah. He may not even remember.
Yeah,
Who knows?
Potentially, yes, indeed. Potentially, yes, indeed.
Exactly. Hawkeye Broncos says, my boys, to me it seems like Fangio is going to pick Bridgewater as a starter, with that being the safe play and gives him and his staff the most job security for next season. My question is, does Bridgewater really represent job security? With Bridgewater, we won't be bad, but also we won't be good enough to compete for a championship. Sure, Fangio might keep his job, but for how much longer? All he is doing is kicking the can down the road and would need to break in another new or rookie quarterback next offseason. Seems like Fangio should ride with Drew and either give him firm ground to stand on or look for for a D coordinator job again next year. What say you, Hawkeye Bronco? This sounds like you don't have Vic's interest in mind, and I can tell you, Vic has Vic interest in mind, so that's where the separation is here.
Also, I don't know. I mean, you think, Bridgewater's the safe pick from a football standpoint. It's not so much the safe pick from the I'm trying to keep my job and buy myself goodwill and a greater cushion.
Right. Yeah, and also I just think your expectations are a little off, Hawkeye Bronco. Back when the Broncos had Peyton Manning, it was Super Bowl or a failed season.
Damn straight.
And those, unfortunately, have changed quite a bit.
I mean,
those have changed a lot. If the Broncos have a winning record, I think Vic's back. If the Broncos make the playoffs, it's a successful year.
Yes.
If the Broncos make playoffs this year and make the playoffs again next year, successful year next year. I mean, we are many years away from saying that the Broncos have to win a Super Bowl or it's not going to be a successful season.
Yeah, that's correct.
But I like where you're coming from. We're just a couple years off.
And, of course, that could all kind of be regrouped a bit if there was a new owner and wanted to make a splash.
Yep.
And God knows what coach you'd go after then.
Right,
stuff,
exactly. Nick Scott says, it sounds like a reason that keeps being thrown out for some of the Teddy Bridgewater interceptions in practice is a miscommunication with the wide receivers. I get that it happens, but at some point, don't these miscommunications fall on the quarterback? And yes, Drew has had some too, but I believe this either miscommunication number 3 or 4 for interceptions for Bridgewater. Unfortunately for the team, it doesn't really matter how the interception happened, just that it happened. Felt like this was a point that has not been mentioned much. Seems like a decent amount of miscommunication between Bridgewater and the receivers. Let me know what you guys think. I think there's been fairly even amount of miscommunication and interceptions with both Teddy and Drew.
And for example, he's talking about interception numbers. You were talking about how, looking over your notes yesterday, Drew had completed less than 50% of it.
Yep.
So, some miscommunications might be turning into interceptions. Some miscommunications may simply be turning into a really bad completion percentage. And you're watching this, so you could tell me, could it be that maybe Teddy's less concerned about not throwing a pick on a miscommunication while Drew's tried to clean that up so much that he's maybe a little more cognizant of throwing it away in certain situations like that?
Yeah, potentially. And also, Teddy's gone deep more than Drew in training camp, which is just crazy to think. And that's what Teddy was doing yesterday in his, what I truly believe was a miscommunication. Well, it had to be. I mean, Jerry Jeudy turned around after 15 yards, and Teddy threw it 35 yards down the field. That's a miscommunication. And because, Nick, I had a question about this on Twitter as well. People saying, is that biased? When I say a miscommunication interception, I'm not saying Teddy's off the hook. I'm just saying that's what it was. In the quarterback scoreboard that I wrote yesterday, I said it looked like a miscommunication. And in fact, Teddy really hinted at that after. But I didn't say, I'm not going to count this against Teddy. It absolutely counts against Teddy. But when Drew has those as well, it's the same thing. Yeah. It counts as an interception for Drew, but I also say it's a miscommunication. And these things pretty much even themselves out. It's not like Teddy has had 12 interceptions that are all on the receivers and Drew's had 0. Just like you said, with incompletions too, it's the same. It goes down as an incompletion because those things are going to balance themselves out.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the greater concern here isn't so much how we're keeping score or mentioning miscommunication. It's that final week of camp, both quarterbacks, far too many plays where they're miscommunicating with their wide receiver. That ain't it. That's not what we want to see. I will say this, though, to Nick, who has a great comment here. Let's not be too harsh on the unfortunately for the team. It doesn't really matter how the interception happened. It just happened. Let's remember, these are reports on practice. They're trying to get this right, dial these things in, and get improve these mistakes. Yep. So an interception doesn't weigh the same. It's okay to throw interceptions in practice. We want to throw them in practice so that we can learn from those mistakes and know when not to throw them in the game.
Yeah. And I had a conversation on KOA last night about, do you think that these practices are dull because they're saving all their energy for the games? And I said, if they come out and have a great game this Saturday and they come out with all the energy and fire, then sure, maybe that can be the reason. But if they come out this week or against the Giants and look flat, then these dull practices that they've been having for the past couple weeks straight are
about
just
a
going to be
hangover.
torn to shreds. And it's just going to show that this team just hasn't been practicing. It's great that they came out on Saturday with all of the energy.
It's phenomenal.
And so maybe you can tie and connect some things. But if they come out and don't have that energy, you're just going to be saying, well, they've been practicing like that. So
Yeah, and I mean-
why are we surprised?
You're a pro athlete. You need to turn up more than one day a week at your job.
Right. Or else maybe we can just turn up one day
Yeah,
a week.
totally. Exactly. Yeah.
T. Woods 16. Hey guys, we know the Broncos struggled a bit in joint practices against the Vikings pass rush. Out of the 17 games this year, who do you think have a better, worse, or similar pass rush to the Vikings where the Broncos offensive line may struggle? Thanks. It's a great question. I mean, the Chiefs pass rush is pretty good.
Yep.
Especially, man.
And if healthy,
Chris
the
Jones.
Chargers for sure.
Yes. And Chris Jones could destroy the interior of the Broncos offensive line, which I have questions on. And Joey Bosa can destroy the outside.
Yeah, Giants have a pretty stout defensive line, not the greatest edges, but, week one. I don't think they're better than the Vikings, but I think they're in the conversation.
Okay.
You would say the same about the Jets. Ravens have lost a couple guys. I mean, Steelers have TJ Watt and some
Really good.
tough dudes on that front three. The Browns have been adding guys.
Yep.
And
Miles Garrett and Jadeveon.
probably
Overrated
better
Jadeveon.
than the Vikings.
Yep, I would agree.
The Washington football team, who
Incredible.
I'm bullish on, to me, the best line in the league.
Yep. So really what we're finding is it's not like the Viking time
no.
against everyone else.
No, I mean, if we say Chiefs, Chargers, that's already 4 games. We've found another couple.
Yep.
And you might even add Eagles to that mix.
Yeah, I mean, it almost seems like the Vikings are kind of average.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're talking about like 40% of the teams they'll face this year will have better lines, and probably 20% will have as good defensive lines.
Don't like to hear that, that's for sure. But one more
No, you
comment.
don't.
Maybe we end on a good note from Def Woo. Are miscommunication errors for Teddy sinking his ship? Seems like there have been multiple instances of miscommunication between Teddy and the receivers over the course of camp. Has Locke had similar issues, or is it almost exclusively while Teddy is at the helm? Fangio's strong change of stance yesterday regarding the quarterback position has me wondering if Teddy's misfires might have this coaching staff ready to call it for Drew. What are you guys' thoughts? Thanks for the great show, and thank you for chiming in, Def Woo. I'll say this, not only, I think, does it rely on Drew being consistent and having another good game this week in terms of why the Broncos would end up going with Drew, Teddy hasn't been magnificent these past 2 weeks of practice.
Yeah, no, that's the bottom line.
He's
Teddy's
been-
far from taking this by the horns.
And I do think, especially with the way Teddy started out, I think 2 of his first 3 practices or 3 of his first 4 practices, he had 1 incompletion in each practice.
That's
and
crazy.
so I
Wow.
think, and that's what I was seeing, saying, holy cow, Drew's going to have to be good to keep up with this.
Yeah.
And then Teddy kind of tailed off. Drew played a little better, and then they were just about even. And so if Drew plays well this game, boom, that's the separation you need for Drew to take the job.
Samuel Bisu at the buzzer.
Oh.
I think he's watching it live.
Let's go,
So
Samuel.
he was able to say, oh, they're doing the question section live. I can still get one in. Hey, Zach and Dre, loving the live pod. If Teddy is supposed to be the safe quarterback, but he and Drew have had approximately the same amount of interceptions, what is the point of going with him? He isn't safer and has the much lower ceiling to the decision. So the decision is easy to go with Drew. Give the kid a chance to prove how hard he's worked this offseason.
It would be going with the safe option in terms of the veteran, in terms of the guy that on 3rd and 4, when pressure's in his face, you think he's going to toss it up just into a crowd of defenders less than Drew would.
Right.
It's the safe option because he's a veteran.
While you've seen them in practice, it's hitching your wagon to a guy that's a little more battle tested.
Yep. And a guy that you don't think is going to crumble as easily. Not saying that Drew is going to crumble. I love his approach to the game.
Right.
But
less hero ball, less kind of like,
Yep.
screw it, let's see what happens here.
Yep,
Yeah.
honestly, more boring because
Yes.
Vic wants to win running the ball and defense. He doesn't want hero ball. And we did see Drew try to play a decent amount of hero ball last year. It worked in the Chargers game. It did not work in the Atlanta Falcons game, and it didn't work, honestly, the rest of the season.
Yeah.
And, including at the end of the Patriots game when he had a great game, he did try to play hero ball at the end and threw 2 interceptions, but the Broncos were able to hang on. Vic doesn't want to win that way.
Yeah, I know. He wants a reliable Honda. You're telling him, hey, but we've got this BMW. And Vic's saying, yeah, but that's rear wheel only. It doesn't work in this Denver weather.
Yep.
Just give me my Honda. I'll take it in, get the oil change every 5,000 miles. It's going to run smooth. I know what I'm getting. I'm fine.
And now what he's seeing is he's going from Denver to Vail one last time. And he's taking the BMW. And if the BMW holds up, Dre, he's gonna trust it. He's gonna trust it for that next cross-country trip.
Baby.
And I love ending on that note, Dre. And before we get out of here, got to tell you about our presenting sponsor, MSU Denver Online, one more time, because they are the new urban online university with learning outcomes equivalent to face-to-face courses, which, of course, is unheard of, but MSU Denver delivers. They have great gen eds taught by real people, great completion options, full programs, and virtual services to keep you healthy and happy on your way to graduation. They're the preeminent online university in the Rocky Mountain region. Whether you're online or on campus, it's all the same to them. You get the same degree while continuing to live your life. So make sure to check them out over at MSU Denver. And Dre, that'll do it for us today. Thank you all so much for hopping in on the live pod. So happy we could do this thing live. Please hit us with a thumbs up before you get out of here. Hit us with a subscribe. We will be back after the Broncos game. It's going to be a late one, but we'll be going live after the Broncos game. So tune in, maybe with a Breck beer in your hand, on Saturday night after the Broncos play the Seahawks. Thank you all so much for joining in. We'll talk to you after the game.